The story begins near a peaceful lake, where a young woman called Rin is fishing. Rin used to be a caregiver, but she later picked up acupuncture for her job. Eventually, she was summoned to another world through a Saintess summoning ritual. This lively girl loves the great outdoors, so she is now exploring all the wildlife, scenery, and food this new world has to offer. While fishing, she gets a bite and starts to excitedly reel it in. To her surprise, the fish is actually a giant oni man. Rin is shocked by his appearance for a little bit, and then she celebrates her catch. However, she wonders if she can survive this fantasy world with all the weird things going around her. For the time being, she dries off the drenched man and lies him inside her tent to cool off. She then starts grilling some trout she caught from the lake. As the aroma of the tasty food wafts into the air, the young man in the tent catches a whiff of it. He instantly wakes up, his body screaming at him for food. Meanwhile, Rin enjoys her fish like it's the most delicious thing in the world. Since the trout she caught is a magical creature, its meat contains a sweet flavor that most normal fish and spices cannot match. After praising her own cooking, Rin wolfs down an entire skewer before realizing that the guy is standing right behind her. The poor guy feels too shy to ask a stranger for food, so Rin offers some on her own. He gladly accepts the food and starts eating, but some of the food gets stuck in his throat. Thankfully, Rin gives him a cup of barley tea to drink the food down. Although the man quickly drinks it to dislodge the food, he falls in love with the refreshing taste of the tea. The barley washes away the fish's oil and flavor, leaving his taste buds refreshed for another round. Rin nods, appreciating his recognition of her cooking choices. She asks him if he's ready to try another batch of fish, so he nods and starts eating. Rin notices that her grill is now empty, so she puts another chunk of fish to cook on it. Once both of them finish eating, the young man thanks Rin for her help and introduces himself as Vil. He explains that he's an adventurer from the town of Elridge. Rin wonders how Vil ended up in the river, so he explains that he got hurt on a solo quest. A little while ago, he was bathing near a river when some monsters stole all his belongings. Although Vil was able to recover his equipment, the monster had already eaten his emergency food. Angered by this, he tried to climb up a tree to grab some fruit. Unfortunately, he lost his balance and fell into a river before washing up in the lake. Surprised by his carelessness, Rin wonders how he survived the water. Vil reveals that his species is Draghul, which is known for being tough. Unfortunately, the Draghul cannot live on an empty stomach, so they sometimes make stupid decisions for the sake of food. Rin laughs at his joke, but Vil wonders why she's being so carefree around him. He reminds her that she's trusting a completely random man in the middle of nowhere. Vil thinks that she's being too careless, and Rin agrees with his concerns. However, she explains that she has a skill that helps her detect a person's trustworthiness. In addition, she thinks that he is a good person in general. Vil is surprised how she made that deduction even though they've just met. Rin reveals that she first interacted with him when she pulled him out of the lake. As she dragged him back to her tent, he woke up for a second and noticed that her clothes got wet and dirty. To help her, he cast a magic spell that quickly dried her off before he passed out again. After seeing his concern, Rin decided that he was a good person. Vil is shocked that she began trusting him so easily, but Rin ignores it and asks him how he can use magic. Feeling embarrassed by her eager gaze, he acts like it's normal for the people of his world to know small magic spells. Hearing this, Rin reveals that she's from another world, so she's very interested in all magic spells. Vil doesn't understand how she came here from another world, so she tells him about the Saintess summoning. Vil recalls an old legend. His grandfather once told him that the Saintess was a legendary heroine summoned from another world, destined to defeat all the monsters and bring peace to their world. Of course, both of them think that it's just a grand myth. In reality, Rin was simply going about her day back on Earth when a random pit appeared beneath her feet. When she fell into the pit, she entered a royal palace in the New World, where the mages had summoned her. Aside from Rin, there was another high school girl who was summoned from Earth. A prince-looking guy immediately fell for the other girl's beauty and called her the legendary Saintess. Then, he screamed at Rin for having a worthless skill, and an imperial mage used a spell to teleport her to this lake. After she was teleported, Rin used the new skills she had gotten upon entering the New World to fish and survive until she met Vil. Vil feels angry that the prince coldly threw her out into the wilderness after forcefully summoning her from another world. Rin doesn't care too much, so Vil takes a look at her equipment. He admits admits that her fancy camping gear definitely looks otherworldly, which pleases Rin. Vil then wonders if she's feeling okay since she got wrenched away from her homeland and family. Rin smiles, pleased by his concern. Although she would normally be very worried in an unfamiliar environment, she has gained a new skill called survival in the new world. This skill allows her to adapt to any environment she's in and helps her stay physically and mentally calm. Also, the survival skill allows her to detect danger, so Rin feels quite relaxed in this unfamiliar environment. Hearing this, Vil is shocked, since her ability is a godsend for adventurers. He wonders why the prince thought it was worthless, so Rin thinks he probably expected something flashy for the legendary Saintess. Then, she also points out that she has a more shocking skill. Before Rin can display it, Vil's stomach growls from hunger, so he requests some more food from her. Vil is surprised that she can cook, but Rin claims that she's only a hobby chef. Then, she wonders if she should reveal her entire kitchen to him. Since Vil has been trustworthy so far, she decides to show him. After raising her hand, she chants a command, which causes an entire van to appear out of thin air. Rin explains that her special skill keeps the van hidden unless she decides to show it to someone she trusts. She then enters the van's door, which contains a strange dimensional portal. Vil follows her into the portal and is speechless to see an entire living space inside. Unable to process this insane sight, he quickly leaves the van, thinking it's some kind of black magic. He then enters it again, but feels just as shocked as before. Rin explains that the van uses a spatial magic technique, giving it an infinite storage space for whatever she wants. She also shows him a fridge stocked with food, explaining that it magically restocks whatever she takes from it. Vil wonders how the van can produce infinite food, so Rin explains that it converts surrounding mana into usable resources. She explains that aside from the fridge, her sink can also produce infinite water using mana, and her toilet easily disposes of all the waste by converting it into mana as well. Hearing these absurd abilities, Vil points out that her truck is an overpowered fortress. Since their world is filled with practically infinite mana, Rin's truck can literally support an entire family with infinite supplies and storage. She smiles, saying she has no plans of world domination yet. Vil wonders how the royal family could ignore her op spell. Rin tells him that the van can only be used outdoors, so they probably didn't detect it. Then, she gets up to prepare dinner. Vil doesn't know how to cook, so he goes out to scout their surroundings for any monsters. Later, Vil returns from his patrol with some meat from an Al Mirage monster. Rin recalls seeing one before, feeling surprised that it has edible meat. She thanks him for the help, so Vil smiles in return. Although Rin instantly gets rizzed by him, she recovers from her shock and serves dinner. Since she made a full table of complicated recipes from Earth, Vil thinks he's being treated to a gourmet feast. He wonders if it's okay to eat such luxurious food for free, so Rin encourages him to go ahead. Both of them sit down and begin eating, and Rin starts with a risotto. She enjoys the rice dish made with milk trout, then moves on to the other dishes made with the Al Mirage meat. Meanwhile, Vil starts trembling after taking just one bite. Rin wonders if he dislikes the food, but Vil is simply too shocked to process the food's amazing flavor. Once he recovers, he wolfs down all the food and asks Rin for seconds. After dinner, Vil asks Rin if she was a chef in her previous world. She reminds him that she was just a hobby chef. However, he thinks she should be proud of herself. In his world, people eat simpler food, so most of them can't make the incredible dishes she whips up so effortlessly. He asks Rin what she plans to do after getting out of the wilderness, so she admits that she doesn't have a clue yet. With her survival skills, she doesn't mind hanging out in the outdoors while figuring out a plan. Vil reminds her that she can't get into any towns without an ID. His words bring her back to reality, and she realizes she can't go wandering around forever. Vil asks if she wants to join his party. He explains that all of his party members are horrible cooks, so they get depressed anytime they need to eat outdoors, with a dedicated chef on their side. He thinks his entire party will receive a huge boost in morale and performance. After making his offer, Vil leaves, and Rin goes to bed in her van. She thinks about his words and the way he said them with such intensity, and her maiden heart starts beating faster. Vil also reassured her that his party has both men and women, so she wouldn't have to worry about getting harassed. Knowing she has nowhere else to go, Rin Rin decides to accept his offer the next day. Vil thanks her for her trust and suggests going back to his hometown. However, Rin asks him for some time to gather herbs in the wilderness. She explains that the nearby forests contain valuable parsley, so Vil agrees to help her gather it. On their way, she asks him what his party is like. Vil explains that his party is called Smorgasbord, and they have a magic and alchemy specialist called Ed. Aside from him, they have Arya, who is an arachne capable of wielding spider webs. Lastly, their final member is an elf priest called Zenon. As Rin hears all these names and races, she imagines an idealized fantasy version of these people. In the middle of her excitement, she detects some juicy berries nearby with her survival skill. She rushes to pick them, but a flock of crows suddenly flies out from the berry tree. With her guard lowered, Rin fails to realize in time that these crows are dangerous monsters. As the birds rush towards her, she is unable to react in time. Thankfully, Vil protects her and defeats the crows with a single slash of his sword. Rin is too stunned to react at first, but then she quickly thanks Vil and apologizes for giving him trouble with her carelessness. He smiles, reassuring her that his party will take good care of her from now on. While Rin struggles to recover from his blinding charisma, Vil points her to some loot dropped by the defeated monsters. They gather the loot and grab Rin's spices before getting in her van to drive to town. Vil is surprised the giant metal van can move so quickly. He points out that at their current speed, they can reach his hometown in just 3 hours, far surpassing the speed of even the fastest carriages in their world. Rin is also concerned because her van has a masking function, meaning people cannot detect it, so she worries about accidentally hitting someone. Vil explains that there's a shortcut to town through the mountains. Rin takes the shortcut since her van is built for outdoor driving. Suddenly, she stops as her survival skill alerts her to a monster up ahead. In front of them, a massive monster called a firebear steps out and roars loudly. Vil is surprised, since the firebear is a dangerous monster usually absent from these parts. Suddenly, a young woman captures the bear with silk threads, but it easily breaks free. Nearby, a red-headed man screams at the bear for hurting his wife. Watching both of them from a distance, an elven man teases the man for being so overprotective, since the bear only broke his wife's silk threads. Vil recognizes these 3 people as Arya, Ed, and Zenon. Rin feels worried about his teammates, but Vil confidently steps out of the van, ready to show her what his party is made of. He steps in and forces the bear off. Zenon smiles, pleased by his teammates' sudden arrival. Ed and Arya also smile, happy to see him back. Unfortunately, they don't get time for a cheerful reunion with the furious firebear staring right at them. As Vil reminds everyone to get ready for the attack, Rin watches the standoff from the safety of her van, excited to see how a real adventurer party fights. The bear makes the first move, releasing several fireballs towards Ed. He easily blocks them with an ice wall spell, then starts taunting the bear. Suddenly, he realizes that one of the bear's attacks caused a massive tree to fly down at him. Although Ed has no time to react, Arya breaks the tree with her spider webs. She scolds him for getting cocky, but Ed just enjoys receiving his wife's attention. Watching the couple fight, Zenon knows that Ed will keep fooling around to score more points with Arya, so he tells Vil to get serious and finish the bear off. He nods and lunges towards the bear, slicing it in half with just one slash. Vil thinks the bear died too easily, and Zenon also knows that Ed was fooling around with his spells, so nobody was in real danger. Suddenly, Ed comes over, his voice panicked as if it's an emergency. He shows Arya to Zenon, explaining that she got a minor scratch from the fight, while Ed thinks even the tiniest scratch on his precious wife's body is the end of the world. Zenon sighs at his cringeworthy attitude. Still, he casts a healing spell to remove the scratch. Once everyone has calmed down, Vil asks his party why they were hanging out in this area. They explain that they were simply looking to gather resources. On their way, they encountered a rookie party struggling to handle the powerful firebear, so they stopped by to defeat it. Vil nods, but he points out that monsters so strong should not be wandering a beginner area. Zenon agrees, suggesting that they report this unusual encounter to the Adventurers Guild. Ed asks Vil how he found them, so he calls Rin over. Out of nowhere, she pops out of her camper van. Although Vil can see the camper, the rest of his party members are not authorized by Rin's camping skill, so her van everyone is completely invisible to them. Because of this, they literally see her jumping out into reality. Rin doesn't realize how shocking her entrance was. Instead, she starts fangirling over all of the adventurers and their skills. Confused, they all ask Vil who she is and how she appeared out of thin air. Vil ignores their last question and explains that Rin is a friend who has agreed to be their porter and cook. Hearing this, all of them are shocked, since good food is the biggest luxury in the world for them. Excited, Arya holds Rin's hand and asks if she really can make good food. While she is excited for a different reason, Rin feels nervous being around such a beautiful woman. Ed also steps in, wondering if Arya can cook meat. She nods, so Zenon thanks God that they've finally found their salvation. Seeing everyone's reactions, Vil starts laughing and asks Rin if she finally understands the value of a real chef in their world. She laughs nervously, then offers to make a meal for everyone since they're all so excited. She wonders what to make, then decides to cook some of the meat she got from the dark crows. Hearing the sound of meat, the malnourished party members all start foaming at the mouth. Rin enters her van to prepare the ingredients and takes out the crow meat. Back when she was ambushed, she didn't pay too much attention, but her survival skills told her that the dangerous birds had delicious meat. Now, with the tender meat in front of her, she agrees with the skill and looks forward to the final result. She decides to add soy sauce, cumin, sugar, and coriander to make a simple teriyaki-flavored meat skewer. After adding the seasoning, she brings the meat out of her van to cook on the grill. As she puts the meat chunks on a skewer, she notices everyone else staring at her. Rin feels confused, so Vil explains that the other party members still can't see her camper van, so it looks like she's warping in and out of reality each time she goes inside it. Rin finally understands and wonders if she should authorize the rest of the gang to see her van. However, Vil tells her to keep it a secret just a little while longer to continue teasing them. After some time, the first meat skewers are ready on the grill. Although Rin loves this simple skewer recipe, she feels nervous, wondering if these otherworldly party members will like it as well. She is completely unaware that this simple skewer looks like a 5-star meal to these poor beggars who can barely cook charcoal at most. Finally, the food is served and everyone falls in love with it the moment they take a bite. Watching them eat, even Rin feels surprised by how much they like her food. Feeling pleased, she smiles and tells them to eat as much as they want. Afterward, she asks them how the food tasted. As everyone remains silent, Arya is the first to walk towards Rin. Suddenly, she pulls her into a hug and professes her eternal love towards her. Wrapped in the pretty lady's arms, Rin feels like she's going to melt. Seeing his wife so close to her, Ed gets jealous and pushes her away. Then, he also starts fawning over her amazing food. Zenon also praises Rin's cooking, so she accepts his praise and hopes they'll enjoy the rest of her food from now on. Once everyone is settled, Vil thinks it's time to head home to Elridge. To begin their journey, Rin authorizes the rest of the party to see her van. Seeing the strange metal box pop out of thin air, they are once again left speechless. Rin smiles and welcomes them inside. Soon, they start moving towards the city. As the other party members sit in the car, they feel fascinated by its incredible speed. After learning that it runs on mana, Ed thinks it must require a large amount of powerful magic formations just to sustain the car's fuel consumption. Hearing how complex her technology is, Rin feels glad that she has kept it hidden from most people. Vil nods, but he admits that he has reported her Saintess summoning to the Adventurers Guild. He explains that the Saintess summoning could put his country at risk, so Rin wonders what he means. Vil reveals that they're currently in a country called Riesfeld. Their country is a peaceful island nation, so they never needed to summon a Saintess to defeat surrounding monsters. Long ago, in their world, the human race was extremely dominant, to the point of discriminating against all other races. To combat this, the other races banded together and escaped to this island country. Aside from the non-humans who emigrated, many kind humans, who believe in peace and equity, also joined their nation. The native non-humans happily welcomed the good humans, and over time, the island nation started thriving and became self-sufficient. Unfortunately, because of their past bad blood with the outsider humans, citizens of Riesfeld still remain wary of them to prevent any Saintesses with ill intentions from entering their nation. Vil reported Rin's appearance to the Elridge Guild Master, since Elridge is the country's harbor city. After hearing this, Rin doesn't feel threatened since she trusts Vil. Instead, she gets excited to experience exotic Elragian seafood. Vil laughs at her reaction, then points out that they have already reached the city. As Rin looks ahead, she marvels at the size of the giant city walls. Then, she parks her van in a safe spot and lets everyone step outside. They enter the city on foot, where Rin starts beaming at the fantasy atmosphere. Vil tells everyone that he'll help Rin register at the guild, so Zenon decides to make preparations to welcome her into their home. Not wanting to lose their precious cook to another party, Ed warns Vil to keep a close eye on Rin. Arya hugs her, wishing her a safe journey, which only causes her husband to turn feral from jealousy. Later, in the Adventurers Guild, a kobold receptionist, Sheila, greets both Vil and Rin. Rin immediately melts at her cuteness, wondering what kind of creature she is. Vil explains that he's here to register a new party member, so Sheila brings out a registration form. Then, she notices Rin fuming from cuteness overload. Vil tells Rin to behave, since Sheila is a grown adult, but the Sheila doesn't mind being called cute. Afterward, Sheila stamps Rin's form, declaring her an official member of Team Smorgasbord. Reading the text on the form, Rin learns that her Japanese writing automatically turns into the world's native language. She can also read the native language, but it makes her feel strange. Sheila congratulates Rin and wishes her good luck. Vil nods before taking Rin to meet the guild master, Tori. As they sit down, Rin formally introduces herself and asks for his guidance. Seeing her respectful behavior, Tori is unable to believe that Vil actually found a normal person. Vil scoffs, saying that he verified Rin's background before recruiting her, so he shouldn't doubt her identity. Tori apologizes for his words, saying he didn't mean any harm. Then, he returns Rin's greeting. Earlier, Vil had sent Tori an emergency message, so he thought something bad had happened. Now, faced with the innocent Rin, he doesn't think that the harmless Saintess from a fairy tale was worth the anxiety. He asks Rin how she entered this world, so she recounts her entire story. Although she claims that she was summoned from another world, Tori doesn't believe it at first. He asks to check Rin's status to see her special skill, but Vil warns him to stay away. Tori reassures him that he doesn't have any bad intentions, so Rin agrees to show him, as long as he doesn't learn any private information about her. He smiles, explaining that most status magic is not nearly advanced enough to detect everything about a person. Hearing this, Rin is surprised, since her survival skill is capable of detecting even a person's trustworthiness. Now, she feels a little safer after learning that other people can't just X-ray her abilities and discover her secrets. Soon, Tori finishes scanning her skills. He explains that she has the Outlander class, which is given to people from outside their world. According to legends, Outlanders can inherit a special class alongside a random extra skill. Hearing this, Rin finally understands that her special class is Traveler, and Campy the Van is her special skill. However, Vil feels dissatisfied with Tori's explanation. He wonders why he's so skeptical of his abilities, so Tori reminds him that the Saintess summoning is still an unconfirmed legend. Then, Vil wonders why the foreign humans would resort to summoning a Saintess. He wonders if they're truly facing an incredible crisis that requires overpowered skills. Tori reveals that he has not received any news of a global crisis, so it's unclear what the human kingdom's motives are. However, he thinks that Vil's earlier encounter with the fire bear might be a clue. Usually, monsters never appear in their beginner areas, so perhaps this phenomenon is related to the crisis faced by the humans. Also, Tori notes that the fire bear seemed much weaker than usual to Vil's party. All of these strange signs feel suspicious, so he tells Vil to tighten security around Elridge with his party. After thinking about it, Vil agrees to do it for the sake of everyone's security, realizing that she joined a prestigious party worthy of the guild master's attention. Rin feels happy. Later, they return to Smorgasbord's main home, although everyone tries to give Rin a warm welcome. Their growling stomachs ruin the moment. Rin smiles, more than happy to cook them another nice dinner. This time, she goes way beyond the simple meat skewers. She sautés mushrooms, cooks rice in a rice cooker, and marinades a generous amount of meat in a special spice blend. In the end, she makes a delicious mushroom and rice meat dish, some creamy omelets, and a big serving of stir-fried meat. Rin starts to explain all her dishes to the waiting foodies, but they all remain silent, staring at the food. To these simple folk, even her creamy omelet looks like it was made by Gordon Ramsay himself. Itching to dig in, they ask Rin for permission to eat. She immediately allows them to do so they all start eating. Every person at the table instantly ascends to heaven from the incredible taste. Vil realizes that the stir stir-fry would taste even better paired with some rice. So Ed gets ready to fetch a bag on the spot. Arya and Zenon also prepare to assist with the food, so Rin asks them to calm down. She reminds them that there's lots of food currently left, so they should eat it first before fetching more. They all agree to finish it first, so she smiles and watches them eat away. That was the second episode. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen. I heard that you addicted to them sands now, girl.